Welcome to Ace of Pentacles, your career strategy and workplace wellness podcast. I'm your host, Sarah, and I'm so happy you're here. Join me every week as we investigate how people design and discover their way through their careers. Together, we'll explore the science of well-being at work and discover tools and strategies to help us do well and be well. Today, we chat with Surbhi Singh. Surbhi is a registered nurse at Stanford Hospital and clinical faculty at University of San Francisco. I invited Surbhi on this podcast because I wanted to hear her thoughts on navigating burnout, especially as a healthcare professional supporting patients and families during the COVID-19 pandemic. What becomes clear in this episode is Surbhi's incredible ability to put things into perspective. She has a very healthy mindset and outlook on life. I think it's that mindset and that ability to change her perspective on things that contributes to Surbhi's well-being, despite the very stressful work environments that she's operating in. I hope you enjoyed this episode where Surbhi shares her best practices for preventing burnout and prioritizing your well-being. Hi, Surbhi.
Hey.
How are you?
Good. It's been a good year.
Yeah. Very good. Surbhi, thank you so much for being here. I wanted to invite you on this podcast because this is a career strategy and workplace wellness podcast. And I really, one of the things I really admire about you, as I've seen you grow in your career as a nurse. You are a registered nurse at Stanford and you teach at University of San Francisco. And one of the things I've seen along with you growing and always looking for cool new opportunities and putting yourself out there is you really managing your health, your wellness, and your mindset. Mm-hmm. And I think that's been one of the keys to your success. And so I'd love for you to speak with our listeners today about how you do that.
Well, thank you for inviting me. My career actually started when I was in high school, and I was paired up with vocational training school where I wanted to learn what healthcare is all about. And I did a one-year program when I was in senior year in my Kennedy High School, and I was able to get my certification for medical assistant. And that's how the journey started. I explored my options in nursing. I explored my options in other healthcare, like registered dietitian. And I saw that nursing is something I can grow into. There are many wings to nursing. It's just not bedside. There's teaching involved. There's non-clinical, like research. You can always get a master's and doctorate and whatnot. So that really inspired me to get rolling in nursing.
Surbhi, was there a moment in your life when you knew that you wanted to be a healthcare professional or when you knew you wanted to be a nurse?
I always wanted to care for people from the get-go. Like when I was when I was in my teens, when I used to fly or travel, I wanted to be a flight attendant. That's how it all started. And I'm not a flight attendant, but I am into service where I care for people and I do genuinely have a compassion to care for the sick ones. Mm-hmm. So that's where I think I don't know if it was my soul talking or my past life, but I wanted to take care of people. So that's where I am.
Surbhi, you're in a profession where it's very easy to get stressed out and to get burnt out. Mm-hmm. In fact, I think in 2022, the Surgeon General said that this was after the pandemic, and the Surgeon General made a comment saying that even before the pandemic, before the COVID-19 pandemic, 54% of doctors and nurses were experiencing burnout. And the pandemic just made that worse. But you started your job at Stanford, I think it was 2019 or 2020?
January 2020, right before COVID.
Right before COVID. So you...
Not expecting this.
Yeah, you were not expecting that. What was that like?
Isolated. Because I had moved from LA to Bay Area to be closer to family, but then everything shut down, locked down. And then dealing with sick patients in ICU, especially COVID patients, that was an isolated world. I felt like I'm disconnected. Like right now, it's different. Like our ICU is very supportive. Everybody talks to each other, but then when you were in those rooms, you felt disconnected and isolated. It was hard. It was hard for all of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you stuck with it. You know, a lot of people actually left healthcare.
Yes.
During COVID.
I know many of my peers that left bedside after COVID or during COVID, just signed off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you didn't.
I did not.
Yeah.
I'm
Tell
just I'm resilient.
You're resilient. I love that. Yes. But what makes you resilient?
What makes me resilient? I think, I don't know. Maybe my mindset. My mindset is like, why should I give up? Because one day I will be sick too. Yeah. I'll be on the other side too. So it's just, I think, good karma I want, or it's my sole purpose, I think. Yeah, to take care of the sick ones.
Yeah. I agree with you. So I know you. So I know that your mindset is really, really healthy.
Yeah.
And I've always admired that about you. And you are very resilient, and I think it is because of your mindset.
Yeah.
And the way you look at things. And just even right now, the way that you were able to lift your perspective. Were you always like that?
No.
Huh.
You know, my early years in life were not easy. I came over a lot of things personally, healing as well. And I think that's taught me to not give up. And I think it just got stronger and stronger as years go by, and that's where I am today. I never gave up.
Surbhi, I think managing your mindset is such a complicated thing.
It is.
And you have to train yourself to do it.
Right.
What are some tools, practices, strategies that you can share with our listeners that help you?
On my days off, like not in, personally, but my days off, I have lots of plants around my place. You've seen my place. Yeah. I do gardening. I do take care of my house plants. I do travel a lot, so that's something I disconnect. That's something I'm not traveling to different countries with my work, with my stress at work. The stress is part of my work. It's nothing that I can get rid of. I walk in my work in my ICU, and I know it's going to be there. It's just how I deal with it when I'm off from work. And for me, that's traveling, gardening, talking to my peers, and I share a lot. I'm a talker. I don't journal things. You know me. I just blurt it out. I have no filter. And when I walk into even my work, people know that I don't have filter. And I work on just sharing things out with my peers. Yeah. I don't keep it inside. I just blurt it out. Oh. So that's how I deal with it. And yeah, definitely traveling helps me a lot. Organizing my place, decluttering my space. I read somewhere that your space talks a lot about your mindset. If it's decluttered, there's something going on inside your brain. So I think mental health is very, very important as in my work role, 100%. So yeah, I enjoy that. So these are the few things I do.
Yeah, so that was managing your mindset is about also managing your environment.
Agreed.
So you have plans,
external factors,
you have a routine on your days off, you are able to disconnect, you don't take your work with you, you don't take that stress with you when you're traveling. And then I think you spoke a little bit about purpose too, right? Like having that perspective and keeping your purpose in mind, knowing that you're doing this thing because it's something that you're meant to, it's your calling.
Yeah, it's my calling, 100%. Yeah. And as I said, stress is part of my work. Yeah. I cannot be like in a Disneyland. That should be something, I know a lot of people feel like work should be a positive environment. Everybody has stress at work. And I think, not just healthcare, I'm talking about in technology, science, anywhere. I think dealing with stress is something everybody should incorporate into and how to disconnect.
I think what you just said is so important because I think what you just said gets at managing your expectations. So I think people sometimes feel like, oh, if I leave this job, the next job's going to be better. If I leave this place, the next place is going to be better. And that's all valid. Yeah. You can hope for better, right? But I think part of being very healthy is recognizing that no job is going to be completely stress-free. There will always be bad days. And it really is about the tools that you use to manage through those bad days.
Yeah.
Yeah. Surbhi, in addition to your role as a nurse and your role in healthcare, you are also an educator. You are clinical faculty at USF. Tell us a little bit about how you got into that and why you got into that.
During COVID, in I think April 2021, Board of Registered Nurses had actually shut down clinical sites for COVID reasons, so students are not exposed to it. And that time I was living in the city and I wanted to do something and give back to my nursing community. So I started looking into, and I also had finished my master's at that time. And I was like, you know what, I need to explore other options, keep my full-time job in the ICU, and I can utilize the days I'm off and give it back to nursing community. So I started looking from home, which is University of San Francisco. I reached out to the dean. There was some few openings at Zuckerberg SF General. That's where I do my clinicals. And the dean interviewed me within a week, and I was hired. That was it.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, so you said you did this during COVID because you wanted to give back to the nursing community.
Yeah.
In what ways does that fulfill you, your nursing or your teaching role?
I wanted to empower the new Gen Zs. I know there are a lot of Gen Zs, like my students don't want to be at bedside. Literally, that's what they tell me. They want to go in startup companies. They want to be in the research side, which is great. But I still want them to help get that clinical experience. Maybe, and like now some of my students, like throughout the half of our semester is done now, and they come and tell me, you know what, professor is saying, I really want to go into ED or ER, ICU, because you share really good stories. You show us what it takes to be a nurse at bedside. And now they're changing their mindset because it shows, how patients treat them back. That's what I think changes their mindset. Hey, there's a lot to bedside versus going to non-bedside. So I think what really inspired me was to empower my new Gen Z or new nurses, because we see them at my current work too, that a lot of new grads come and their passion for nursing is not as high as you would assume. They get rejected really easily, because a lot of patients are going through hard times, and it's not easy. You have to have a nice side. You have to have an empathetic side to it. Also, so I think building empathy during nursing school is very important. And I think that's what I try to teach them, and I try to help them gain from their clinicals. So I think that's what I love teaching. One of my things I do is gaining or empowering them about compassion for taking care of sick people and gaining empathy. Yeah.
Well, you're a great person to learn that from.
Oh, thanks.
And it seems like you're very, you're more than a teacher, you're a role model for them.
Yes.
You're kind of showing them, you can have a really fun career, a really great career in nursing, being at bedside.
Yeah.
Even though a lot of people might not feel they're as resilient as you.
Yes.
And I hope you share some of your wonderful practices with them on how to keep that resilience.
Yeah. And they see that in me, that I balance my full-time job with my teaching job. And I travel in between. So I also share my travel stories with my students. They're like, how do you do all that? There's only 7 days in a week. And I'm like, there are ways. That's how a nurse, this there are ways. This is how I disconnect from my work. And I cut the cord, and I'm on a plane.
That's great. That's wonderful. I know you keep saying you're not, you don't take your stress with you, but I travel with you, and I know that there are times when you think about your students and you're like, I just, I'm wondering about this person right now, or you're thinking about it. So it's not that you've stopped caring because you're gone. That somehow you magically make it so that you don't take the stress, but you still take the heart and the care with you. And that's amazing.
Yeah. But I've started to practice. I think we went to Colombia together. I did not take my laptop.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
That was the only trip I did not take my laptop. I told myself I'm not carrying work. So as one of the things you asked me earlier in a question, how do you help with stress, is not carry the laptop
Not carry your laptop with you. My laptop acts like a safety blanket. It goes everywhere with me. You know this. Sometimes 2 laptops go with me.
Yeah, I do not. I've started to practice. Keep my laptop home.
Something that I'm very passionate about is reframing this idea that you have to always have everything figured out. Because I think when we look at our careers, it's really daunting to not know what that next step is going to be. And nursing, I think, is one of those careers that on the surface seems like it's kind of the straight path. Was there any point in time in your career where you didn't know what the next step would be and you figured it out? And how did that work?
Yes. I think 3 years into my nursing career at bedside, when I lived in LA, I started to explore grad schools. I was like, you know what? I have my bachelor's. I want to do my master's while I'm working full time. And there were a lot of options for hybrid. A lot of grad schools for nursing are hybrid, means you can still work and attend school online and do half of the clinical aspect on your days off. So for me, I saw that I can do that. And my hospital that I used to work at, they used to give tuition reimbursement. Even my current work does the same. So when hospital give that incentive, if you want to advance your career, I was like, you know what? I should go towards my master's pathway. I didn't have that in my mindset, by the way. I was like, you know what? I'm done with my nursing school. I'm done. And I didn't have a blueprint for my nursing, to be exact. I wanted to get my BSN, and I did it. Got my job right away, and I didn't expect that I was going to go to grad school in 3 years of me starting as a bedside nurse. So, but when I saw the incentive from my hospital that, you know, they offer tuition assistance, I was like, why not? And then I found a really great program, my alumni school. I went back to them, and they gave me a tuition discount, alumni discount, and it was a hybrid course. I mean, the whole 3-year program from a master's was hybrid. So I was able to balance my work full-time and go to my classes online, and half of my classes on campus in Hollywood. So it really worked out for me. So yeah, again, I did not have a pathway. I did not have a plan next. Hey, what is my plan for next 5 years? My plan for next 5 years was I was going to be a bedside nurse. I was bedside, but I went to my grad school. It happened because I saw tuition assistance.
Got it. Surbhi, what is a misconception that people have about nursing as a career path or healthcare that you've actually found to be untrue because of your work?
Less autonomy. We actually have a lot of autonomy, especially in my work setting, in the ICU. I've always been in critical care, so for me, it's like I'm the first one to respond to a critical situation with my patient. I am expected to take care of it and then address it to my providers, my primary team. For example, if it's a neurosurgery patient, I work in neuroscience ICU. So, for example, my work setting is very critical, very stressful. Things happen by minute. I'm not expected to have, complications. Things happen. So I'm expected to take care of it as a nurse, in a bedside nurse. So I think the perception people have is that we don't have autonomy as providers. Yes, we do. We are the first responders, in one word, to take care of a critical situation, and we work as a team. If this is my patient assigned for the day, I'm expected to take care of that complication, respond to it first, then address it to doctors. If it's something like a code blue, yes, I hit a code blue, but prior to code blue, there are signs and symptoms that start showing that I'm expected to take care of it and address it to doctors. Hey, I've done the labs, here are the labs. Here, I've done a blood gas, here are the blood gas. I think this patient needs ventilator support. So these are the things I'm expected to do. So I think autonomy is not addressed too much. That's the perception. That's my perception when I went into as a new nurse, that, oh my God, I'm not going to have a voice. You have a voice. And I love our multidisciplinary rounds in my current work setting. We are the first one to present the patient, and the team rounds afterwards. Means you as a nurse present your patient when we do our morning rounds, and then the providers or residents, then they present the patient. They want to hear the nurse first. I think it's the autonomy and voice that nurses actually have versus the perception that we do not have.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so I used to watch Grey's Anatomy a lot. How much of it is like real?
I wish there were 6 doctors getting my patient out of the bed. That's what Grey's Anatomy shows. Annoys me the most. No, it's us. And the physical therapy, occupational therapy, the rehab department. It's us. Sorry.
So it's not like the hot doctors coming in to like carry the patients out of the bed.
Sorry, Rhonda. What's her name?
Shonda Rhimes.
Shonda Rhimes. Rhonda. I'm sorry. That's us.
That's not real.
It's
That's
us.
It's you. It's the nurses.
We get an order from a doctor and they leave.
I've been in and out of hospitals because of my mom's health, and something that always stands out to me is some patients are just like, I mean, I understand they're stressed out, and family members too, and they kind of just like take it out on the nurses. And sometimes those moments are really stressful. They're not very nice. People are like, I've witnessed people screaming at nurses and yelling at them, and I've witnessed family members, when they don't have the right information, getting really loud. And, how do you deal with that?
So my 10 years as bedside, I feel like what my belief is, or my observation is, that half of the frustration comes when they're sick, their loved one is sick. It's communication aspect. And I think that's where the frustration comes. Getting answers.
Yeah.
What's next? What's next? What's next? So I think that's where, as a nurse, when I deal with that situation, I let them say it out. I let them vent it out, because I know towards the end of the day, I'm going home, not them, with me.
Yeah.
Their words stay in those rooms. Yes, they see us as like a punching bag, like a sponge.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like, let them release it all out. Then I revert back to them. I hear you. I understand your frustration. I know such and such things have happened, and you want to meet the primary team and discuss things with them. I note it down, then I take it to my management team too. I think our management plays a great role in intervening. We have social workers, we have case managers that also help us. And spiritual care is a great aspect in providing care for these patients and family members, where we offer these services. And it's totally free. It's like part of the care that we provide. It's like holistic approach too, right? So I'm like, a lot of people are very spiritual too. A lot of my patients are very spiritual, and family members are very spiritual. I'm like, let's have a talk outside in the garden. Let's go outside and let's release it all out. You want spiritual, or we have also pet therapy. So I think those really help us deal with the situations. I've had many times where I'm just like, time out. Yes, if you are being physically or verbally abusive, that's when I have to call security, things like that. We see this all the time. But I think the aspect is communication and getting answers and clarifications is where this frustration comes in. And yes, there are a lot of people who are very grateful for the care we give. And then there's like certain percentage that has that privilege mentality where you just have to step back and let, other team members play a role dealing with that.
Yeah. So it sounds like it's a combination of having your own practices to be able to remember. I love how you said that, I'm going to go home. This person's not coming home with me. Their words stay in this room.
Yep. 100%.
So it's those kinds of practices to be able to get that perspective. But then it's also leaning on your team members, leaning on the resources that, the healthcare system does have, and the different institutions that nurses work at, the hospitals, they do provide these resources.
Yeah, and I'm very grateful for that. Yeah. I'm not the only one then in the boat.
Yeah, everyone's working together on helping this person.
Yes. And I know that next day I'm going to come to work because I do like 3 in a row shifts. Like I just completed my 3 in a row and I'm here. So I know that I'm going to see this person again. So I need to have that relationship, or establish a relationship with a certain patient or family member. If they feel like I'm not welcome in the room, or one of my nurses are not welcome in the room, like we take it to our management or our charge nurses and let them know, hey, I don't think this is the right assignment for this nurse. We should change this assignment just to help both sides. Yeah. So I think we should have respect for both ends. So we really look into this every day.
Got it. All right, Surbhi, we've talked about mindset, we've talked about perspective, we've talked about resilience. What are some other qualities that you have either actively cultivated in yourself to be able to show up the way that you do with your career, or natural talents that you have?
I'll focus on the natural talent first.
Yes, those are always easier, yes.
As you know, I'm one chatterbox. I love communication. So communication is something in my work field, you have to have it. I know there's an introvert aspect and there's extroverts. I think having clear communication with your peers, your team members, is very important. And I think I bring this naturally. I've never heard somebody say, I don't think you communicated with me that. I've always been on top of my communication game. So for me, that's naturally given. A positive approach. I'm always have a smile on my face, and I'm never like upset about things. If I'm upset, it's in me, but I share with some certain peers. Like, I don't show it right away. It just comes out naturally to my peers. So I think I don't keep anything inside. For me, it's venting out. Release it, let it go.
Yeah.
And then move on. Something I absorbed from my peers is delegation. I used to be so afraid to delegate or ask for help, you know, if I'm drowning. When I was a new grad, I remember I was like, I would be so afraid. But now I realize it's like, as a team where I am currently working at, it's just like amazing to let your peers know, hey, I need help.
Yeah.
Just ask help and see how it makes such a difference in your patient care and overall your day and your mood. It just, that's something I teach my students as well. Like, you need to ask for help. Don't come with an attitude like, I know it all, I got it all. You're going to drown. So that's something I learned from my past experience, currently cultivating that too in my practice, that don't be afraid to ask for help.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody's born with superpower skills that they can do it all. I only have two hands.
Yeah. Yeah.
And one brain.
And one brain. Totally. And two brains are sometimes better than one.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely that's something I learned from my peers is delegation. Ask for help.
Yeah. I think it's really hard to ask for help, especially in roles where you are the helper.
Yes.
You're the person that people are coming to for help.
Yeah.
And it's hard to turn that around and go like, actually, I don't have all the answers and I need help.
Yeah.
And so many people so many people struggle with that.
And I think a lot of people are afraid, oh, what are they going to think about me? I can't deal with this.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
Yeah.
like, are they like, am I the weak one in this team? No, you're not weak. You are strong. That's why you have, I think, that patient to take care of. The charge nurse relies on you. They trust you. That's why they assigned you this patient. But I think if you're dealing with certain critical situation, you need to alert everybody. You need to delegate. Hey, can you grab me this? Can you alert this doctor? Or can you alert this person? I need help.
Yeah.
So things like that. I think that's what I learned. Like, don't come with an attitude that I got this. Leave me alone. Shut the door. No.
Yeah.
No.
So be humble. Know that you don't know everything.
Yes.
Ask for help, especially
100%.
when you need it. But be comfortable. Be confident. Asking
Be
for
confident.
help, and communication.
And ask stupid questions.
Ask stupid questions.
Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Same with my students. They are so afraid to ask me about certain like smallest things, and I'm like, ask. It's okay if it's a stupid question. I will give you a stupid answer, and just laugh it off.
I'll also give you a stupid answer.
I'll just laugh it off. Don't be afraid to ask stupid questions. If you don't say I know it. If you don't know it, again, you're taking care of very sick. You're taking care of human beings. You need to know what I'm doing is right for my patient and advocate for your patient. Be a safe nurse. I think that's my goal at the end of the day. Yeah. As I said, I don't take anything home. Yeah.
One thing I like to ask my guests is what's some advice that you have for people entering your field or coming into your field, right? Or currently in the field. You've shared so much good advice already. Is there anything else that you would tell someone who's considering having a career in nursing or healthcare?
Yes. Shadow, if you have not got a taste of healthcare, shadow. There are a lot of opportunities in every institution, even small clinics, shadow in a homeless shelters. See how it feels to take it. You need to have a human connection. You need to have a feeling, how can I help this person? It doesn't have to be a nurse. You don't have to be a doctor. Connect is, I think, where you need to start from. Is connection. And then you could start from a shelter. You can start even from a veterinarian office. It could be anybody. It could be animal too. So I think connection is the first, is human kindness is where the role you need to have. You need to have it. You need to have empathy.
Yeah.
And then explore options. I know a lot of nurses who were not ever in healthcare. They came in nursing in their mid-30s. They changed their careers. And this is something they want to give back to their community, can take care of. So you have to have that.
Yeah, that's great. Well, I'm excited about asking you this question because I always ask people what's the advice that you would give someone coming into your field. But Surbhi, what's advice that you would give to families dealing with someone who's ill, a sick family member who's in a hospital? What's advice you would give to family members dealing with that?
advice to family members?
Right. So you as a nurse,
Yeah.
you have this perspective
Yeah.
that you're in it, right? And you're dealing with these sick patients
Yes.
and you're dealing with these family members. And sometimes people don't know if this is the first time you have a sick family member
And
that
how
you're
to-
taking to a hospital. Like what is some advice that you would give to that person?
I've had fallen into problems where their mother or father had a stroke and they live in a different side of the globe. They fly in and they're like, oh my God, what happened? What happened? What happened?
Yeah.
And they're asking so many questions and they haven't seen their parents in like years. And I'm like, that's something I always say, do you have a family member? Do you have a support system? Who can you call and dial and give you a break from the bedside? Because they are allowed to stay at bedside, right?
Yeah.
24/7, one person can stay.
Yeah.
So something I always ask or assess or quite ask
Yeah.
my family members at bedside that, hey, how's your support system like? Do you have someone to talk to? And if I see they do have a support system, I ask them, can you call them? Can you go see them? Can you step away from bedside? And that helps them a lot when they see their family members or friends, just to get disconnected
Yeah.
from what's happening to their loved one
Yeah.
is support system. If they don't have any, then I suggest let's go to our garden. Let me call chaplain services. If you are spiritual, let me get some help.
Yeah.
Let me see what I can do.
Yeah.
So something I always assess is what's their support system like?
Yeah.
Because I know like getting a news on a phone and getting on a plane for their mother or father or anybody, their husband, wives, it's not easy because they're in shock. The first is usually shock.
Yeah.
Right? And then denial and then acceptance and all that. So I
Yeah.
think the shock state is the what I see the most. Yeah.
Yeah. It sounds like a lot of make sure you're taking care of yourself, even as a
Yeah.
healthcare professional,
Yeah.
as a family member
Yes.
dealing with someone
Yeah.
who's sick. Just make sure you're taking
Yeah.
care of yourself.
They burn
because
out.
we forget about ourselves.
Not just nurses burn out. I think families burn out is very, very important. We see that. They start getting frustrated. You asked me this frustration question earlier. These family members also get frustrated because they're burnt out. They have not left the bedside. So we tell them to take a break, step away,
Yeah.
come back.
Yeah.
And that really helps. Even a few hours of sleep helps so much. I tell them to take a sleep like nearby hotel if they're not local and they're flown in from somewhere else. Go to your family member's home, take a nap, shower, take care of yourselves because you have to be stronger for your loved one. And I think that helps a lot. Is disconnect for a little bit. And I always tell them, I'll give you an update if there's something important. Trust me, have faith in me. And then they do that and they step away.
Yeah.
And that helps, yeah.
That's great. Thank you so much for sharing that. And thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your knowledge and your expertise with us. Thank you for being present and available for our listeners and our viewers.
Oh, I'm so happy and grateful for you. And I'm so glad for Avra. And I hope a lot of listeners are listening to this, or a lot of new people who want to see in healthcare what healthcare is about. Definitely start from connection, like shadowing, or see how you feel around sick people. See how you feel around other people. So a lot of people do not know how to start a conversation. The basics.
Yeah.
I think that's what's very important.
That connection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get away from your screen time.
That connection to people, not to your phone.
Yeah, get away from screen time. Have empathy. If you don't have it, it's okay. If that's not meant for you, then yeah, it's okay. There are other fields that doesn't require empathy.
There are fields that don't require you to be a nice person. You should go explore those. Not nursing.